Setting goals is the epitome of positivity. It's hope. It means you're trying to make things better. And I know some of you are still rolling your eyes at those of us who make goals, whether it's at the beginning of the year or any time of the year. That's okay. I still love you. But then again, if you're still here and you're still listening, I guess there's a little part of you that's interested in what I have to say. Because when the new year approaches, it gives us an opportunity to use this new year as a transition into a new norm. And for some of us, it's an opportunity to start fresh. And the excitement behind New Year, New Me is a really big thing. Yes, I'm going to say it 100 times because it's the only time I can say New Year, New Me and use my company name. So it's real. And even if you've tried this in the past, you've tried to set goals in the past, and maybe you didn't achieve them, who cares? It's all about getting back in the saddle and trying again. Hopefully, after this episode, you'll have some of the tools, some new tools to get it right this time. And if you don't get it right this time, guess what? It's still okay. If you're listening on the podcast, of course, today I am wearing gray, always wearing the stethoscope my wife bought me. Hi, Gina. And my hair looks fabulous because it's supposed to. And wherever you are, don't forget to follow us on Instagram because we are really funny. And if you like today's podcast or episode or live, whatever you're watching, make sure to share it with the people that you love so they can become the game changers in their life. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Efrat Lamondre. Everyone calls me Dr. E or E, and I invented the new method where we empower people to finally realize that their symptoms are not in their head because you always knew there was a better way. So wherever you are, join the conversation. Let us know you're here, and let's start this episode on goals. So before I tell you the tool of how to set your goals, let's take a moment to reflect on why it's so important to use goals. The first reason is because goals give you direction. And you might think to yourself, listen, lady, I've gotten pretty far in life without setting goals. And you have. Congratulations for being awesome. But the truth is, if you have a well-built map detailing what you need to do, you'll probably get to your destination faster and more efficiently. I know it sounds simple, but having clear goals helps you create a destination for your dreams and gives you a focus in the world full of distractions. Which brings me to the second reason goals are so important, which is goals help you identify what's important to you. With everyday life pulling you in so many directions, it's so easy to get caught up and then forget where you're headed. And it's especially easy for us to put ourselves last when we're taking care of everyone around us. I know, you're all saying, yes, I take care of everyone. But if you take the time to set goals that are personally important to you and you write them down, they can serve as reminders to put yourself, maybe not first, but somewhere on the list as you get busy. Although I would like for you to put yourself first, but I'm not going to push it today. The third reason that setting goals is important is because what happens is when you start reaching goals, you actually end up reaching more goals. What surprises people who start setting goals is that things start to happen because you're focused on the results of all that hard work. You're focused, hard work starts to pay off. And when it starts to pay off, and you're like, oh my God, I did the thing, and you crossed it off your list, it creates momentum for your next goal. Athletes use this all the time. They're always working to kind of break their previous record, their personal record, and each time they keep going more and more and more. So goals, remember I said earlier, they're hopeful, they're future facing. So they create a psychological shift towards more and more positivity that lasts a lifetime. Okay, we covered the why. Let's talk about the how. I promised you a tool, and then I promised you a secret ingredient. So let's do it. So the tool, I didn't invent it, but I love it. It's called SMART Goals, SMART. And I'm going to tell you what each one of those letters stand for. So we'll start with S. S is specific. Make sure your goals are super specific. What do I mean? Without it, you may not achieve it. So if you say to yourself, I want to be healthy, that's a great goal, awesome goal, but it's not specific. What does health mean to you? Does that mean you want to lose weight? Does that mean you want to reduce your cholesterol, get off medication? Maybe it means reducing your autoimmune flare-ups. Make it really specific. And this is something I use when I first meet my patients on a discovery call. I always ask them, they tell me their story from beginning to end. And then I say, what's the goal? And the goal can't just be, I want to get healthy, right? We have to break it down. What's the goal? Let's get specific. And the other thing about specific is not just what the goal is, but on the how. So just saying, I want to reduce my flare ups is not enough. How will you do it? What resources will you use? Who will be your guide? For example, are you planning to work with me and my team, which of course you should, or maybe someone locally? Or are you going to do some of your own research and come up with a strategy? No matter what, you have to be sure to be specific on how you plan to achieve it. So specific is about the goal, really kind of zero in on what the goal is. And then specific is on the how to achieve it. If let's just say your goal is, I want to get off blood pressure medication. How? Are you planning to change your nutrition? Are you going to increase your walks? How often? What's the specific plan that you're going to use for the specific goal? Which brings us now to M. Let me put these up here. M, measurable. M is for measurable. Clear definition of success. So saying, I just want to lose weight is not enough. Maybe you want to say, I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to be a size 10. Whatever it is, you have to make it specific. And of course, this is not just about weight. It could be any goal, such as, I want to be able to walk to the stop sign without being winded. Or I want to be able to play with my children or grandchildren for 2 hours in the park without getting winded. P.S. Getting winded was my goal, like, just so you know. And I'm going to tell you more about it in a little bit. But my goal initially was just to run around the block without needing my inhaler. That was my entire goal. And guess what? Now I run 3 miles a day. But it started off really specific, really small, and really measurable. I had a patient who said her goal was to fit in a blue dress by her son's graduation. Super specific, super measurable. And as I said, someone said to me, I want to play outside with my kids without being winded. Very measurable. Also, on this note of measurable, it does not have to be all or nothing, right? It does not have to be the ultimate goal. For example, my people with autoimmune issues. Instead of saying, I want to be with 0 flare-ups whatsoever, maybe we want to say, I want to reduce my flare-ups to 1 to 2 times a week instead of every day, right? Instead of saying, I never want to flare up again. Well, yes, that's measurable, but maybe we want to make different kind of measurements, like 1 to 2 times a week. So be really specific with your measurement, which brings me to A, which is achievable or attainable goals. The goals must be achievable. And I cannot stress this enough. Don't set yourself up to not succeed by making the goals unrealistic. Maybe you want to do the next Ironman, which is like in 2 weeks, but you can't even run a mile. That's not an achievable goal. You could write it down in the fanciest book with the fanciest marker, highlight it, put sparkles on it. But if it's 2 weeks away and you can't even run a mile, it's not happening. But committing to an Ironman next year might be, with smaller achievable goals along the way. That's more achievable. I will learn to run a mile in a few weeks, etc. Right? You get the drift. Maybe you want to say something like, oh man, I wish I could run like I used to when I was in college. But guess what? If you had 3 knee surgeries in the past decade, it's not going to happen. So you're creating a goal that you can't achieve. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be active, or maybe you could run X amount of miles and X amount of speed. But to say to yourself, I want to run the way I did 40 years ago in college before I had 3 knee surgeries is not an achievable goal for most of us. Maybe you're the exception. You're awesome. The point is, it's really important to make it achievable. Otherwise, we're destined to fail and we get disappointed, and you can imagine where that takes you. So we want to achieve small goals, because when we achieve the small goals, we get psyched for the next one. This brings me back to my patients. Sometimes they come in, right, and they felt terrible for so many years. For so many years, they've just not felt well. And then their goal is, I just want to feel amazing. I want to feel bright and shiny and new. And some of them want it tomorrow. And I have to break it down to them. I have to say, that is not achievable. I cannot reverse 40 years of not feeling well in 1 week. So we have to be able to bring them down to make really achievable goals so that they'll want to achieve more. So again, maybe the goal is, I want to be able to do my chores in my house without having to take a break. Maybe the goal is mental focus. I want to be able to focus at work for 3 hours instead of saying, I want to spend, I don't know, the next 3 months, studying for a certain exam. Maybe you want to break it down to achievable goals. I want to be able to focus at work for 3 hours without losing concentration. Make the goals achievable, not because you are underselling yourself, not because I don't think you can achieve more, because as you achieve each small goal, your brain processes it as a win, and it creates a psychological shift that keeps you coming back for more. This brings us to R, which is relevant goals. Relevant means the goal has to be specific for you. Just because it's someone else's goal doesn't mean it should be yours. For example, I have a lot of friends who really want to skydive. Guess what? That is never going to be my goal. Why? Because I'm terrified of heights. I could barely look down when I'm standing. So it's never going to be my goal. I could write it down from here until tomorrow on every single calendar. It's just not my jam. It's not relevant to me. But there are other goals that are relevant to me. Give you an example. I have asthma, and it took me a full year to train myself to run 2 miles. Now, for some people, that's easy. They can run 2 miles like in the middle of the night. They just wake up and run 2 miles. And then for other people, 2 miles seems impossible. It doesn't matter. It has to be relevant to you. And this is really important in the perfect world of Instagram and Facebook, where people always put these amazing things that they did, but they don't show you how hard it was. Or maybe they don't have the same health issues you do. So please make the goal relevant to you. I want to tell you a little bit more about this running goal that I had, because it kind of ties it all in. So a few years ago, my son was younger and we were just goofing around outside, and I tried to chase him and I couldn't catch my breath. And I was like, what is this? I was in my 40s and I'm like, I'm getting winded running around half a block, because I don't remember the last time I tested myself running. I was lifting weights, I was doing other things, but I had not tested myself running. So I was like, this is not going to work. I need to be able to run with my kids and someday with my grandkids. Don't rush. Anyway, so that was my why. It was relevant to me. And I have knee issues. I have asthma. So I started off super slow. My goals were probably laughable for a lot of people, but they were relevant to me. I started off with the asthma pump in my pocket just in case. And my goal was to get around the block without having to stop. And it took me a long time to get around the block. It took me weeks until I can get around the block without stopping, without needing a pump. While other people's goals might be to run a 3K or 5K marathon, whatever. Mine was 1 block. Yours could be to the stop sign or up the stairs. Now, eventually, my running around the block got to 2 blocks and 3 blocks, and now it's 3 miles a day. Each time I increased it to an achievable, relevant goal to me. Now, here's the relevant part. I say run because it's running for me. But in real life, if you saw me, I'm super slow. I'm so slow that my son walks next to me, maybe a little fast for him, and can carry on a complete conversation while I am huffing and puffing in my run. It doesn't matter. It's relevant to me. So your goals have to make sense for you, with your life, with your abilities. I recently coached one of my game changers, and when we first started out, her life looked a certain way. She had a lot of support from her family for her kids. So after school wasn't this crazy world for her. She had people to help her. And so she had that time to get her meals prepped, and things were on point. She was reaching her goals. Everything was manageable. Something happened in her life that changed the family support that she had. So she had very little family support. And now she, didn't have time to meal prep, but she still had her overall main goals of getting healthier and overcoming certain chronic issues. But she just couldn't get it done with those old goals. So we worked on figuring out what to order now that she's out more. So our goals change from meal prepping every week to making strong choices when she's out in the restaurant, because those goals are relevant to her and what's happening in her life. So make the goals relevant. And now we're on the last part of the goals, which is the T, which is time bound. You need a target gate to ensure that you don't get discouraged and to stay on target. If you say, I'll get off my medication someday, that's not the same as my goal is to get off my blood pressure medication in the next 6 months. But time bound also has to be realistic, right? It can't be my goal is to come off medications tomorrow. It's not going to happen. So we have to be really specific, but realistic time frame. You need a time frame that works. You need to commit to a time frame, but it can't be overcommitted where it's just not achievable, right? So it's really important because otherwise you're going to get disappointed in yourself. And by the way, this is why I only take on patients who are willing to commit for at least a year, because I don't believe in 30, 60, 90-day challenges. This is not a challenge. Well, yes, your life is challenging, but it's not a challenge. This is not a temporary quick fix game. This is a long-term solution for getting your health back on track. And during the year, we make specific, measurable, attainable goals that are relevant to each person specifically. And then we track the goals and modify as needed. But now I'm going to tell you the one thing that you need to make all this work. I gave you the tool, SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. But there is one specific thing that you need, one secret weapon that most people miss when they set these goals, whether they use SMART or any other tool. And that is, drum roll please, the secret ingredient that you need to be able to actually get to your goals is self-forgiveness. Because guess what? You're going to mess up. You're going to be super focused on your workout or your studying or managing your stress or answering your emails in a timely manner, whatever your goal is. And then there's going to be that weekend or that trip or that stressful workday or whatever. And poof, you're going to be completely off your game. This is the moment. This is when your goals get tested. This is the moment when you decide, I either stay angry at myself and start saying, F it, I knew I couldn't do it. These goals are crazy. I don't know why I wrote them down, and go back to where you started. Or you say, no big deal. I forgive myself. Not only do I forgive myself, I actually planned for this. So you took a little break. Who cares? You take a look at your goals and you get right back in the game. I tell my patients this all the time. It's not all or nothing. Get up, dust yourself off, and start over. Maybe you need to adjust the goals a bit. Maybe not. Maybe you just need to jump in. Either way, self-forgiveness is the secret ingredient to succeeding and achieving your goals. In fact, plan for it. Plan for the fact that things will not go smoothly. Maybe even consider writing in your goals, write your future self a message that says, hey, you're going to fall off. And when you do, just jump back in. This is the secret to actually achieving your goals, as opposed to like, man, well, I couldn't do it. Burn these goals. I don't know why I was listening to E in the first place. This is how we operate with our patients. We tell them, just show up. Show up to the next coaching call. Show up to the next live on Tuesdays, even if you think you messed up, because just showing up is the name of the game. And then together we adjust the plan, the goals, and move on. I really hope that all of you found this helpful in this new year. And I think that even though these are things we may have talked about before, I think we all need reminders. We all need a pep talk sometimes. And just a reminder that we're okay. And of course, if you want to work with me and my team, I don't know what that word was. If you want to work with me and my team, here's the way to reach us at The New Method, new spelled with a K, on any platform except for Twitter, because 150 characters, that's not enough for me. So on any platform, let us know. There's a way to reach us. There's a way to set up consult. Let us know how we can help you become the game changer in your life. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week, because you always knew there was a better way. I'll talk to you guys soon.